Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Bethanne, and today I am doing a recent reads, Friday reads video. I don't normally do those, but I've been reading a few things. So the first thing I want to talk about is Akata Witch by Nnedi Okorafor, which I read as a buddy read with Katya Weinert, so I will link to her channel below. We've been chatting about it on Instagram. And this book was, it was good. I enjoyed it, but it didn't blow me away like I was sort of expecting, but I'm definitely glad that I read it, and I am going to continue in the series. So just to get that out of the way. Not a 5-star book, I think like a 3.5-star read for me, but definitely good enough to continue. So just to throw that out there. So in Akata Witch, we have Sunny, who is Nigerian. She has 2 Nigerian parents, but she was actually born in the US. And then her parents decided to move back to Nigeria when she was 9 years old. And in the book, she is 12 years old, so she can speak both English and Igbo. And she's also albino, and so that's sort of a key part of her identity because, of course, even in Africa, as a person with Nigerian parents, she really sticks out, and there's a lot of ways that that impacts her life. So one thing is that she's a really talented athlete, particularly in soccer, but she can't play soccer with the rest of the kids because she can't really be outside during the daytime without substantial sun protection, which I get that. But so she's sort of been feeling all her life like she's a little bit of an outsider and doesn't quite fit in. She also has some issues with her parents and her brothers. And now that she's 12, she starts to realize that she's not sort of your usual run-of-the-mill kid. So it turns out that she is actually a leopard person. And in this book, leopard people are people that have magical abilities. And they have a whole range of different magical abilities. And so Sunny sort of starts to discover her abilities and becomes a pupil of sort of a leopard elder and scholar, along with 3 other students who are about her age, Orlu, Sasha, and Chi-Chi. And so she's balancing school and balancing her magical studies. And then sort of in a fairly typical plot, there's also sort of a big villain around. He's actually a serial killer. And these 4 kids are pitted against this serial killer, and that's all, without giving spoilers, that's just like right there in the blurb on the back of the book, that they're going to have to go after this powerful guy. So I won't say too much more about sort of the story without giving it away. It was really, like I said, it's really good. So I do like the characters. I like the kids. I think they are well done. I really, really like the sort of magical world that the kids are all drawn into, and that Sunny in particular is starting to explore. I think it's really well fleshed out. There's enough background that I felt like I was drawn in, but there's also enough that's left mysterious that I really want to learn more. Hence, part of why I want to continue on to the next book is because I just really want to learn about the leopard people society and this magic system and everything. So that's all really cool. But it definitely does do a lot of the stereotypical YA stuff. So the pacing is extremely fast. And it's often not really supported by the character development in the plot, if that makes sense. So some things kind of start happening and the support isn't quite there. Then we also have some pretty standard tropes, like Sunny is sort of kept in the dark a lot in the beginning, despite the fact that she's a newbie to this world, and just like nobody will slow down and tell her anything about what's going on. And sometimes they do it from the standpoint of like, well, this stuff is hard to explain. It's easier to sort of see as you're doing it. And like, yeah, there is like, that is a modality of learning, sure. But like, this is a 12-year-old and she's getting really upset and keeps asking for information and no one will give her even the bare bones. And so that just sort of drove me a little bit crazy. Just like, she's upset. Somebody, like these other kids who actually know more than she does, because some of them have sort of been leopard people all their lives. They know more than she does. Like, just take care of the people in your community. Just take a second to tell her something. So that drove me a little bit crazy. The parents of the kids are also not very well fleshed out, and they actually end up playing some kind of important roles, in particular Sunny's mother, who maybe knows a little bit more about this than she's sort of letting on. Um, they're sort of not really, I don't think the parents are handled very well. And then there's sort of the typical thing of like a bunch of adults are deliberately throwing kids into danger because the kids are sort of the chosen ones. Like the time is right. Like the kids can make this happen. And on the one hand, I believe in the power of kids, but on the other hand, uh, do we have to do that all the time? um, I just happen to believe kids can do great things in literature without being put into life-threatening danger by the adults that are supposed to keep them safe. Is that weird? um, and then particularly at the end, the ending was cool. There's some big action, but there's a couple places where the details of the plot just sort of like don't quite hang together. So all of those things are a little bit annoying, but I did love the world. I did like the kids. Um, I'm excited to see where the next book goes. So that's Akata Witch. Okay, so other things I've been reading. So another thing I've been reading that I haven't talked about on my channel yet is The Trial of Cecil John Rhodes by Adekeye Adebajo, which I think, I hope I pronounced that more or less correct. So I heard about this on the channel, A Time to Share Books. She read the book recently and reviewed it, and it sounded really cool. So it's a novella. It's a really short read. I think about a third of the way into it. And the idea is really interesting. It's almost Dante's Inferno-esque, where Cecil John Rhodes, who's a big figure in the colonization and imperialization of and exploitation of Africa, wakes up in the afterlife. And, sort of in today's time. So it's like today's time in the real world, but he's been dead for a very long time. But it's sort of, his time to sort of come to judgment. And so there's going to be a trial for him for like the effects that his life had. And in order to sort of get to the trial, he has to go through a number of different places in the afterlife. And so the part where I am in the book, I'm totally forgetting the number because it's been like a week since I looked at this book because I was distracted by Akata Witch. Actually, it's been 2 weeks since I looked at this book. But he's going through, I think, 5 heavens. I might have that number wrong, but each of the heavens, and this is the really cool part, is filled with sort of extraordinary people from Africa or from the African diaspora. So there's like a heaven related to poetry and literature, or maybe just literature, and then there's one related to like poetry and the arts. There's music, and so it's a celebration of the amazing things, culturally speaking, that have come out of Africa and out of people in the African diaspora. And so it's amazing because some of the names I've heard of, like Nelson Mandela is in there, Toni Morrison is mentioned. But a lot of the names are people that I've never heard of. And so for somebody like me, it's like, oh, this book is like a reading list and a listening list and a watching list of like people that I really need to go check out. So that's very exciting. And the focus actually isn't really on Rhodes, at least so far. Like I said, I'm a third of the way through the book. We do see sort of some of his fictional reactions where he's like, oh, maybe I did some bad stuff. But the focus is really on sort of talking about these people so far. So I'm really enjoying that. Like I said, it's a novella, so I expect to finish that soon, and I'll report back. So then, 2 books that I've talked about on my channel that I've been reading lately. So England's Rare Mosses and Liverworts. I won't say much about this. If you've been watching my channel like at all, I'm a biologist. I study bees, which means that I like plants as well. So this has just been sort of a neat look at some of the rare simple plants in Britain and why they're rare and where they occur. So that's fun. Sorry, in England. It's not all of Britain. It's England. And then Monte Cristo, The Count of Monte Cristo, which is really enjoyable, but it's really long. And so I've been taking breaks with other books. But then every time I do sit down with it, and I'll read, 100 pages or something, and I really love it. But the problem I have with it, which Courtney Farrader mentioned a couple weeks ago when she finished it, is in the beginning of the book, we are really invested in Dante. Like Dante's, I don't know how to say it in French. The main guy, Dante, the guy who was wronged. I will try not to do spoilers, but this book is a big part of sort of American culture, European colonization culture. It's a revenge story. I think we all know that, right? This guy Dante is wronged early in the book, and then a lot of the book is Dante, who becomes the Count of Monte Cristo, seeking revenge. So we're really, like, we get so much of Dante as a person in the beginning of the book, and it's lovely, and he's a great guy, and we're really invested in him. And then most of the book is him seeking revenge, and it's like, this is fun. Like, I can appreciate fun. I mean, he's ruining people's lives, but like, they were jerks to him. So yeah, it's fun, and I can appreciate sort of the machinations and the long game that he's playing. It's really cool. It's really sophisticated, but it's also like we don't get to see who he is as a person. And so at this point, I'm a big chunk of the way through. You can see my bookmark there. I'm about to start chapter 90. It's just like, at this point, it's just sad, you know, that he's spending his millions and millions and millions of whatever the equivalent of dollars was, livres and francs. He's spending all this money and all this time to make other people's lives miserable instead of finding a way to be happy. Like, what are you doing, dude? I mean, he's already, I have sort of lost track of how old he is. I think he's maybe in his 40s or maybe early 50s, and it's like, live your life. Like, what are you doing? So, I don't know. So, like, it's enjoyable, it's very interesting, but I'm also like, come on, enough with the revenge already. So I'm interested to see where it goes. Yeah, definitely interested to see where it goes. There's a wonderful, I don't want to say wonderful, but some of the more recent chapters that I've read, there's a lady villain. Like, it's not just Monte Cristo who's ruining people's lives. Now there's this other woman who's starting to ruin people's lives and, like, literally ruin. She's a murderess. And I'm just like, well, where did this come from? But like, okay, I'm here for it. So anyway, so this book is fun, but Courtney, I do agree with you on that point. And I think, yeah, I don't think this is going to be a 5-star read for me. And it's partly because it's so plot driven. And I guess I'm more of a character person. And so to get to know and appreciate a character early in the book and then have that not pay off, like, I can appreciate the plot and the intricacies of the plot and enjoy that. But yeah, it's probably not going to be a 5-star read for me. So anyway, enough babbling for me. It's Friday evening. Yeah, I hope everyone else had a good reading week and is looking at a good weekend. And I will see you on the next video. Thanks. Bye.